Right now, there's a global technological race happening. But it's not about weapons. It's about building the most powerful artificial intelligence on the planet. And today, we're going to break down this high-stakes competition.
Look, you definitely know Chatgpt. I mean, who doesn't? But the real story is so much bigger than just one chatbot. This is a global showdown, with huge players from the US to China all fighting to create the AI that's literally going to define our future. So let's dive in and meet the key players and figure out what it really takes to win.
Okay, so before we get to the contenders, we need to get on the same page. To really understand this race, you gotta know what they're actually building.
At the heart of it all is something called a large language model, or LLM for short. Just think of it as an AI that's read, well, basically the entire internet. All that text, books, articles, websites, it's all been fed into the system. And that's what lets it generate text, summarize articles, and even kind of reason like a human.
Now, this tech didn't just pop up overnight. For years, things were kind of slow. But then, in 2017, everything changed. Researchers at Google dropped this bombshell paper called Attention is All You Need. It introduced a new design, the transformer architecture, and that was the big bang moment. It's the foundation for almost every single major AI model we're talking about today.
And that brings us to the main event, the race to build what we call frontier models. These aren't your average LLMs. Oh no, these are the absolute best of the best, the most advanced, state-of-the-art systems out there. They're the ones pushing the boundaries of what's even possible. Think of them like the Formula One cars of the AI world.
So, who's in pole position? Well, for now, the frontrunners are a handful of massive players right here in the United States. And you need deep, deep pockets to set the blistering pace of this competition.
And I'm sure you'll recognize these names. You've got OpenAI, of course, the folks behind Chatgpt. Then there's the tech giant Google DeepMind with their super powerful Gemini models. A really big competitor is Anthropic, the company that makes Claude. And then you have Meta, Facebook's parent company, which has totally shaken things up with its Llama models.
What's really interesting is that these US titans are playing two totally different games. On one side, you have OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic. They're building proprietary or closed models, keeping all their secret sauce under lock and key. But then you have Meta, which is doing the complete opposite. They made their Llama models open source, meaning anyone can download them and build on top of them. This split has created this fascinating dynamic in the AI world.
All right, let's turn our attention across the Pacific, because the biggest international challenger in this race is, without a doubt, China, which has built this incredibly vibrant and fast-growing AI ecosystem of its own.
But you know what? The scene in China looks completely different. While the US market is dominated by just a few giants, China's got something like 50 different companies all trying to build their own models. And that creates a huge challenge. While the US titans have almost unlimited money and computing power, a lot of the Chinese firms are really struggling to get enough of either.
And that diversity really shows in their key players. You've got the established tech giants like Baidu with their Ernie bot. You've got hardware makers like Huawei, which is trying to build its own AI chips. And then you've got these really exciting startups like DeepSeek and Moonshot AI, the creator of the super popular Kimi chatbot, that are making some serious waves.
This quote from Baidu's CEO really tells you everything you need to know about their strategy. He's basically saying, look, having 50 different models is just not going to work long term. The thinking is that the market will eventually boil down to just 2 or 3 top-tier models that are good enough for businesses to actually use. Okay, so we've met the players. Now let's talk about the rules of the game. What does it actually take to win this thing? Well, it all comes down to a few really critical resources.
The single biggest, most important factor is compute. It's just a cool-sounding word for raw computing power, and I'm talking a lot of power. To train one of these frontier models, you need thousands of specialized computer chips called GPUs, all running for months at a time in these gigantic data centers. It is the essential and unbelievably expensive fuel for this entire race.
And trust me, access to that compute is everything. This quote from Alibaba's co-founder Joe Tsai just lays it all out there. He flat out says that Chinese firms are about 2 years behind the US, and the main reason is that they can't get their hands on enough of those advanced chips.
So, with all these models competing, how do we actually keep score? Well, we test them. They're put through these brutal series of standardized tests called benchmarks. You can think of it like a report card, grading them on everything from science and reasoning to how good they are at math and writing code.
And here you can see the results for yourself. This table gives you a snapshot of how some of the top dogs are doing.
Google's Gemini, OpenAI's latest, Anthropic's Claude, and even China's DeepSeek R1. And what's wild is how competitive they are in some areas, like math, but then you see these big gaps in other places, like generating code. This right here, this is the official scoreboard for the great AI race. All right, we've looked at the players, we've seen the strategies, and we've checked the scoreboard. So let's pull it all together and try to answer the big question. Who is actually winning this thing right now?
The number you keep hearing from experts is 2. That 2-year gap that Alibaba's co-founder talked about. Right now, the US has a clear lead, and it all circles back to that one crucial bottleneck: access to the best hardware in the world.
So, let's sum it all up. The US is out in front, no doubt about it, powered by those few giants with all the money and all the chips. China's ecosystem is super dynamic and creative, but it's being held back by that compute problem. But here's the thing. Chinese companies are getting scrappy. They're using open source models and racing to build their own hardware. So yeah, the gap is real, but this race, it is far from over.
And that leaves us with a really important question, because this isn't just about which company has the coolest tech. The winner of this race is going to have an enormous influence over our daily lives. So as these models get more and more powerful, we really have to ask ourselves, who's building our AI future, and what's it going to mean for the rest of us? The answers are still being written.